There are many official duties involved as a member of the royal family. This also includes inspections to maintain public order among citizens, which is one of the reasons Fear was here today. The knights serve the country, and it is the duty of the royal family to coordinate them. In other words, they are like a director without direct command. Now that Fear is old enough to enter the academy, she must take on the task of leading a knight order somewhere. Therefore, the Knights of the Royal Capital, one of the testing locations, was chosen to watch over the exams. How many people are accepted into the Knight's Order exam each year? As she sat in a particularly luxurious chair, Fear asked the man beside her. He is strong. And yet, even just standing there, he exudes an intimidating presence. Yet he shows no signs of being intimidated. Perhaps it's because he has encountered many people like this as a member of the royal family? The man Graham, the commander of the Royal Capital's Knights, spoke with a blank look on his face. In a normal year, it would be around 100 people, including those taking exams in various locations. Oh, it's surprisingly small. If it's okay to let young people die in the name of a title, I'll increase the number of recruitment slots if I were to show my consent there. It would cause a lot of problems, so I'll stop. The knights not only earn good salaries but are also well regarded by those around them. Many people want to become one, and many come to take the exam every year. However, if asked if he actually had the ability to become a knight, he could only shake his head in agreement. The knights could not simply let promising young people die, so they could only select those who were truly talented. I wonder how many people will be happy with this test. Fear peers at the exam through the glass. The first group's test was about to begin, and they were moving forward one after another into the circular arena-like space. A place to find useful people. It's not limited to knights, though. Tension was apparent on the faces of the young people ascending into the space. It's no wonder. After all, it's a place that can determine the course of one's life. However, few people are attracted to people who don't have time for anything. Fear sighed softly and shifted her gaze to look at the vast blue sky. If you are so charming, I will approach you with my maiden eyes sparkling. But from the looks of things, I think it will be difficult to fulfill my responsibilities as a princess here, father. Seeing Fear like that, Graham started to offer a topic of conversation. Now that I think of it, yes, there was one thing that surprised me this year. Graham points his finger. Following his gaze, he saw a familiar figure of a black-haired boy. You, said Blanche. Why is he here, a boy of great notoriety and a disgrace to the nobility? Fear also knows a lot about Euras and looks surprised to see her there. I don't know what her intentions were, but she came to take the exam. I was surprised when my daughter told me about it. Is this just a commemorative exam? Or do you think you can become a knight? That's pretty harsh. May I ask why you think you have a high favorability rating? It might be easier to find a gem in the desert. I definitely thought I would enter the school. He also attended the school, which gave him reason to feel depressed, but he never expected to find himself in a place like this. If you join the knights, we won't meet at school anymore. I don't think he'll get it, though. Julius was lazy. He never swung his sword and just maintained an arrogant attitude. The story was well known in high society, and naturally, few knew about it. But let's put aside the issue of likability and such. I think he will probably pass the test. Yes? Surely they offered you, the person earning the most in this industry, a dizzying amount of money? I don't need money now. I've already saved up enough to cover my child's upbringing, so what does this all mean? As I was tilting my head in confusion, one of the examiners finally shouted, Well then, let the test begin, and then Fear sees it with her own eyes. The output is at maximum. Don't get angry if I'm being unreserved right from the start. A world of silver fills one of the arenas. Huh? That voice came out of my mouth without me thinking. Fear, as well as the other test takers who had been waiting, were simply stunned. After all, the exam had only just begun, but in an instant one of the arenas was dyed pure white. About 25 people had climbed onto the arena. All of them were enveloped in beautiful ice sculptures. But one person, the only person there, was a boy with a faint glowing effect, standing at the edge of the arena, thrusting his sword and exhaling white breath. He had a calm expression on his face and looked around. Oh, what? Is this the end? I've only opened one of the treasure boxes Kim-san gave me so far. I'm embarrassed because I can't give back all the time I was so excited about. What happened? I still don't know. However, he was soon made to understand who was responsible for what had just happened and who had carried it out. But I couldn't believe it. While Fear couldn't hide her surprise, Graham put his hand to his chin. Amazing. I had heard from my daughter that you were a cut above the rest, but I never imagined you'd be this good. Graham's words did not reach Fia's ears. Instead, inside Fear's head, I can't believe it. But having seen it with my own eyes, I have no choice but to admit it. To think that someone of the same age could have such skill. Surely they were hiding it on purpose? And why? Could it be that he really does have this much talent, and all the bad press he's had up until now has been deliberate in order to hide his true abilities? The truth is unknown. However, as a princess of the same age as Julius, she could see what she had to do. Where will he be assigned? Considering their strength, it must be the royal capital. Then, may I also get involved in the management of this night order? Just looking at your words, it seems like the prologue to the youth of a young girl who fell in love at first sight. However, your sister is already in charge of the royal capital. Is that okay? I'll figure something out, after all. Fear regained her composure and gave a cool, ladylike smile. We need to secure useful human resources at hand. Wouldn't it be more efficient to approach them with people of the opposite sex of the same age, including being able to determine whether they would be harmful? On the other hand, before I knew it, a mountain of people had built up in the arena next to us. Everyone's eyes were glued to the young master as he opened the treasure box. In just 3 seconds, a defenseless person can at least play with building blocks. For now, put away that dangerous accordion-style sword and come down. A beautiful girl violently sitting on a pile of people. Depending on the angle and your sexual preferences, I feel like it could bring any boy in the world to tears. Well, the exam is over successfully. One day, a week had passed. A letter arrived at Julia's place. The boy's voice echoed throughout the Earl's mansion as the afternoon sun spread throughout the house. The people working in the mansion were a bit surprised, but quickly returned to their work. Iris, who was in the same room and handcrafting a doll modeled after Julius, also continued to work without seeming to mind. That's a bold invitation, my master. At this rate, our secret love relationship will be obvious to everyone in the mansion, but there's no shady relationship that would be exposed. But not today. Lucky underwear, string bread, I'm doing the laundry. No, that's why I'm interested in 13-year-olds' panties. Interested? What do you mean? I think it might be best to stop wearing string panties for now. Apparently, he's at an age where he doesn't like being treated like a child. Julius was almost worried about his neck, so he gently held his swollen cheek. So, if it wasn't an invitation for the night, then what was it? Did you receive such an extreme threatening letter? Oh, a new threatening letter has arrived. Look at this. With a serious and terrifying look on his face, Julius handed the letter to Iris. And what was written on it was a letter of employment in large letters from the knights. That's great! Congratulations! All the hard work you put in as you watched the sunset has paid off. But I think you should be more pleased. By the way, I received it too. Yeah, I think that's good. Now I don't have to go to school. If so, why does he seem so reluctant? As I was thinking about this, Julius pointed to the middle of the paper, and I've been assigned to the royal capital. The royal capital is close to the school. Just by going outside, you might come into contact with the heroines, and more importantly, you'll have many opportunities to meet important people. That was why he had hoped to be assigned to the countryside. But when he got there, he found himself in the royal capital that everyone longed for. I was planning to live a slow life in the countryside with the fluffy free-eared girl. Why did it turn into an extreme workplace filled with money, fame, and life-threatening situations? That's because he knocked everyone down within seconds of the test starting. By the way, where are you assigned, Iris? The royal capital, isn't it? Wow! We're together. Tears welled up in Julius's eyes. If this happens, beautiful girl Iris, let's think positively about being in the same environment as the people in the countryside. Naked guys, Iris, it may be overflowing with I. It makes me blush when you call me a beautiful girl from the front. But even though you say that much, you still can't see me as the opposite sex, which makes me wonder about the obstacle between us. It was probably a matter of position or being the heroine, but Iris had no idea about that. Blushing, the beautiful girl just tilted her head slightly. So, there's one thing I've been wondering about. Julius points further down. What do you mean? Each person will be given a mission by the day they join. And what's more, there's a sad clause saying that if they fail to complete the mission, it will be cancelled. Really? It's an advanced technique, raising and lowering it all with just a single piece of paper. I wonder if she'll use that kind of thing for romantic purposes. It's fine if she's trying to increase my likability, but the sender must be a guy. If I had raised it up and then lowered it, I would have been rejected. Although just a moment ago they had been rejoicing we passed, their faces now looked disheartened. No doubt other people were making the same faces or hurling insults at him. Well, I guess they wouldn't give me something too difficult to do. I think it's like a final check to see if those who pass the test can really become knights. If they hold an extreme event, the knights will be hit with a storm of criticism. At this point, I'm sure I'll be receiving a lot of criticism from all over the place. Although Julius and the others didn't know, Iris' view was roughly correct. I could see his ability. I could see that he had a basic level of education. However, most of the work of the knights is hands-on. They don't necessarily work in groups, so if you can't do this, you can't even stand on the field as a knight. That's why the final exam is administered like a homework assignment, with the supervisor present. But isn't it usually okay if it's master? You see, you have a lot of experience defeating monsters and so on. My lady, comments like that will immediately raise a flag, haha. Let's look at the other piece of paper to see if it's a flag or not. Julius turns over the other piece of paper that was enclosed with Iris. And there was suppressing the frequent attacks on peddlers in the outskirts of the royal capital. Accompanying person captain of the royal capital's 1st Division Knights Grand Karen target audience member of the royal capital's 1st Division, Lucy Blanche member of the royal capital's 1st Division, Lizelle Karen member of the royal capital's 1st Division, Iris. Don't you think that with this girl around we could get a lot of ransom money? Ah, there's no doubt about it. After all, she is the daughter of the largest trading company on the continent. We're incredibly lucky! Inside a dimly lit cave, the vulgar laughter of men echoed throughout the room. With just a quick look, there were over 100 people there. Strong men, men wielding sharp blades, men covered in blood. Their voices, each mixed with ulterior motives and irritability, filled the cave. And one person among that crowd, girl Helene with tears in her eyes, someone help me. I wonder, it's supposed to be gentle on my eyes, but for the first time I sighed at the sight. Even I, for the first time in my life, had someone sigh upon meeting me face to face. In front of me was a beautiful girl with flaming red hair. She puffs out her cheeks cutely and pokes Julius on the shoulder as a bit of revenge. You don't have to react like that. I was looking forward to meeting you. Do you know who was on the list for the first mission? She is known as the strongest man in the kingdom and the commander of the kingdom's trusted knights. And she's a girl with a cute face but a dangerous skill at using bellows weapons. And I've met you a few times before, but once again, Lizelle Karen, I look forward to working with you as your classmate. The heroine of this work, a talented woman born into a family of knights. The girl was supposed to be attending school, but for some reason today was her first day at work and her first mission. And for some reason she was here. It's hard not to be surprised by that. It was natural that I was surprised, but more than that, tears of sadness began to flow at the carriage boarding point in the royal capital. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be going to school. Maidens should be enjoying themselves with their tea and flower arrangements. There are various reasons why I can't become a tea and flower set. Well, the main reason is Lizella tugged on the crying Julie's arm. Then she brought her beautiful face closer and whispered softly in my ear. Because I wanted to meet you, because you helped me back then. Are you dissatisfied with this? Huh, a sweet, passionate voice. A soft sigh as you whisper in my ear. The stimulating scent of a woman tickling my nostrils. All of these things coming together at once made Julie's face turn bright red. And then yes! Please leave me alone, you slutty fox lady who's acting like a pervert on our first meeting, regardless of whether we're in public or not. Iris, wearing the same clothes as Lizelot, suddenly came between the two of them. Who gave you permission to be so overly affectionate with your master? It's common sense written on a page of the textbook that such things are the privilege of a beautiful maid who knows how to be spoiled. That's amazing common sense. This textbook is way too biased towards one person's personal desires. Iris puffs out her cheeks. Whose side are you on, master, compared to someone I've just met? Iris takes no time to think about it, but just to let you know, this isn't our first time meeting you. They continue to meet frequently even after he is reincarnated, but it seems he no longer has any memory of them. When Iris was sulking, she had a smug look on her face, which was a bit annoying, but Julius patted her on the head and managed to cheer her up for the time being. I mean, even though you don't have the title of common or noble to join the knights, why is your favorability rating so low from the get-go? It's not like you snatched something from someone you like, right? They're trying to snatch me from the side. The smell you give off when you're in contact with Master is the same as mine. Ha! If you say that, I give up. Let's continue to be on bad terms. So, how did he come to that conclusion? Julius tilted his head. At that moment, a man appeared beneath the three people who were talking at the boarding point. Sorry to keep you waiting, all three. One look and you can tell he has overwhelming power. His face exudes an intimidating presence that makes you want to look away. Kyulan Karen. He is the head of a family of knights that have contributed to the royal family for generations and is the commander of the kingdom's strongest group of knights. As soon as this person appeared, Lizelot immediately bowed her head. Even though he was her real father, she straightened up, probably because she was about to become his official subordinate. On the other hand, it was she who brought tears to my clear eyes. Don't mess with me. Send me off to the countryside where fluffy beautiful girls appear, damn it. So this is the man who ruined my husband's day by bringing in his daughter? I'd like to at least spit on him before he becomes my official boss. The two of them, who were quite composed, immediately gave me a dismissive look. Furthermore, I don't have the courage to speak directly at him, so I keep my voice just barely audible. But even so, Dad. Commander, why did you go out of your way to be the examiner? I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem for any other knight, but is this mission really that difficult? No, I won't make a newbie do anything too difficult. However, we have our own circumstances as well. I see, you're worried about your daughter. This kind of overprotectiveness is a basic taboo that girls of that age dislike. But I can't believe you don't know that. You guys grit your teeth. I'm very sorry. The cheeky master and servant bow with all their might. They are in perfect harmony. Seeing the two of them, for some reason Gazella's mouth broke into a smile. As expected of a boy who is known as a stain on the nobility. He is very spirited. I came all the way here because I was curious about what kind of man the princess and her daughter care about, but it might turn out to be more fun than I expected. Ran turned his back to me, past the waiting carriage, and walked straight out the gate. Seeing this, everyone, including Julius, tilted their heads. Um, aren't you going to ride in the carriage? What are you talking about? A knight shouldn't think of taking it easy. Hey, wait, you're walking? Are you kidding me? If so, why did you choose this place to meet up? That's extremely misleading. Father, you're surprisingly mischievous. Who in the world would be in demand for a playful person at that age? However, I have no choice but to follow my supervisor's orders this time. Grunting in frustration, the talented recruits who had been selected to join the Royal Capital's Knights followed Gazelle on her heels. Basically, I don't interfere at all. Just wait and prepare for the worst. Graham began speaking like that as soon as we reached the mountains a short distance from the royal capital. Graham is merely taking on the role of leader this time. I understand that he won't intervene unless something extraordinary happens. Let me explain once more. This time, we're clearing out the bandits who have been attacking peddlers on a regular basis. They're stealing money and goods and selling them on the black market. So that's why those humans are here. We finally got around to investigating the base, and so we decided to begin the extermination. The ruins of a huge temple remain quietly deep in the mountains. It appears that it was used in the past, as the shape of the building remains intact, but it seems strangely deserted. If you understand that much, then you should quickly exterminate him. There's no need to use him as a test subject for a child like that. It's fine to use them as guinea pigs for experiments, but if they're currently searching for food, farmers will cry if they don't catch them quickly, eye contact and sticky mumbling. Apparently, Julius and Iris were feeling quite frustrated after having been forced to walk this far. That's why, from here on out, you can do as you like. Fortunately, it seems that there were no casualties at this stage of investigation. Graham, not receiving eye contact, crossed his arms and lowered his eyes. Now that she had entered the room without any involvement from anyone else, Lizelot looked a little confused. But back home. Let's get going! Yes, Ed! Wait a second. Julius and Iris didn't seem to mind too much and left Graham behind and walked towards the temple ruins. So, do we really not need to think about a strategy or anything? Like how to contact each other if something happens. It's too late to come up with a plan now. I'm not being complacent or anything, but there's only so much I can do here. That's true, but... what would you do if it got torn apart and someone got caught? If we're just talking about this once, the commander of the Knights will probably do something about it. If he's not following us when we start moving, he must have a way to search for the jewel that fell into the water. While I was confused, Julius was able to think things through so calmly. Was this because of the number of times he had been through hell, or was it because he was confident in his own abilities? Either way, feeling a little embarrassed at her own confusion, Lizelot stood a little dejected behind Julius' back. However, I believe that the more timid a person is, the more future they have, huh? No matter where you go, it's always best to move cautiously. So, Lizelot, you're not wrong, and there's no need to be depressed. We're safe just by having one person like that here. So, don't worry about it. Julius slowed his walking pace and gently stroked Lizelot's head as she stood next to him. It was a sudden turn of events. Lizelot's face involuntarily turned red at his concern. I feel like I've been given the disadvantage today, jingling. Iris, walking in front, spread out her accordion sword. And the moment he entered the temple, the bellows were swung, digging into the ground. Wow, what? Damn! It's an enemy attack after all. The bandits who were planning to ambush him were blown away in an instant. Blood splattered from those who were unable to block the attack, but Iris' expression didn't change and she simply puffed out her cheeks in dissatisfaction. Master, I would like a proper pat once this is over. Something along the lines of let's reward Iris for all her hard work. Well then, let's get this under control together with Lizelot. Yes, I got it. Upon hearing Julius' words, Lizelot also drew her sword and took a stance. At that moment, a group of barbarian-looking men began to appear all at once from within the large temple. When I knocked at the back of the closet, a bunch of cockroaches came out. Please don't hold me back so that I can pet you, okay, Miss Fox? Even I can do it when I need to wait. If I go by that logic, maybe I'll get some pets if I try my best to. Huh? Didn't you already get it first? Are you greedy? Being greedy is one of the things that guys tend to dislike. When Iris' accordion sword was fully extended, it would be over 8 meters long. Among them, she was the smallest and most slender of all. Despite this, Iris swung her sword at the bandits approaching in her direction. That's fine. I'll just monopolize the entire reward with my own efforts. On the other hand, my, what a flashy act of violence! As Julius stepped outside the temple, he smirked as he heard the sounds of impact coming from inside. Well then, let's do what we need to do. Julius poked his foot. Suddenly, a white curtain of ice spread across the entire area, and the surrounding temperature dropped instantly. If they were hiding, they wouldn't be doing it openly. They would have a separate space to store their goods and valuables. Julius slammed his fist down with all his might against the ice that had spread across the ground. Suddenly, the cobblestone ground, which should have been solid, began to crack, and Julius was suddenly overcome by a feeling of floating. But Ulysses isn't surprised. After a fall of about 1 story, they find themselves in a long corridor lit by torches. If there's something you want to hide, hide it on the ground. I think it would be a little more exciting to be greeted by an adorable creature that mimics the habits of a timid rabbit, even though I was complaining like that. A smile graced the corners of Julius' mouth as he walked alone into the dimly lit area ahead. About 3 minutes had passed since the battle began. As the sound of an intense impact reverberated throughout the air, Lizella was alone in shock. Seriously? What is with this master-servant relationship? A fierce force of about 8 meters attacks, shattering the pillars. Screams and blood splattered from the bandits on the extension line, and the space suddenly became chaos. Ha ha! Come on, do your best to escape, or this beautiful maid will slice you to pieces. Cockroaches should try and survive like cockroaches. Of course, this guaso, it is the Iris that creates it. Despite her slender body and delicate arms, she easily wields a serpentine sword with a sharp blade. Swinging it around is frightening enough, but the biggest problem is the trajectory. Because it bends like a whip, its trajectory is difficult to read. Because of the centrifugal force, even if you block it, you will be blown away. However, if you can't avoid it, your torso and lower body will be cut in half. Normally, the longer the reach, the more likely it is that there will be blind spots. Iris doesn't let him get close at first. She doesn't move either. Instead, it accurately detects enemies rushing towards it and appears late, blade animal in crushing it. Excellent eyesight and combat experience. With that, arrows and magic shot from a long distance are no longer of any concern. If you can read your enemy's path and attack destination, you can crush them with a simple swing of your sword. I'm doing my best just to protect this child's blind spot. It makes you keenly aware of the difference in ability and talent. I simply stay in Iris' blind spot, which is hard to reach, and slash down any enemies that attack me, leaving her no openings to attack. Needless to say, the difficulty level is pretty low. You don't have to worry about going to the right, left, or behind you. Just focus on the enemies in front of you. It's pretty easy. I was excited about being able to support Julius, but it seems I still need to work hard as long as she's here. Lizella gripped her sword tighter. Die, you brat. Then he swung his sword as if to support Iris. Meanwhile, Iris was also a little surprised to see Lizella standing on her right flank. You're doing it. My weapon is not something that everyone generally uses. It is not very maneuverable, and because of its great power, it is prone to creating blind spots. It's his favorite weapon. He thinks he knows how to swing it to create blind spots, and he moves around while eliminating those spots. However, the right side, where the arm was swinging, was a blind spot that could not be filled. That's where Lizzola covers it. She stood firm, preventing the flying arrows, magic, and charging enemies from reaching Iris. It's the first time I've seen this weapon, and it's my first time meeting this opponent, but I'm amazed that she was able to provide such perfect support. Her fighting style is as skilled as her mother's. Oh! Iris muttered, spat out. It increased to Sheba. I hate you, little brat. I can hear you. We're the same age. In terms of individual ability, to be honest, she is nowhere near the level of Iris or Eurus. But even more than that, he has insight, the ability to grasp the battle situation and his allies. As expected, he was chosen to be part of the royal capital's night order, which only the elite gather. So this is another way to provide support. Why does the master ignore my feelings and keep sending out such excellent ambushes? But that doesn't mean that, although our positions and backgrounds are different. Master Ulysses, I'm the one who's supporting you. I won't lose to this woman. That Maida's competitive spirit was now beginning to sprout. And as for the man who is loved by these two girls, wow, what the heck is this? My feet are frozen. Magic! Just use magic and keep firing. At the end of the long corridor, there is a spacious space. There, they were surrounded by even more bandits than those above. However, most of them had already been transformed into beautiful ice sculptures. I just thought, this isn't the kind of task you should give to a new part-time worker. A fireball comes flying towards it. He swings his extended sword at it, freezing it. It's a cockroach! Or a bee. Even if you only have one piece of paper to write on, you should write it down a bit more clearly. Damn it, knighthood idiots! He ran up to him, grabbed the man's skull, and slammed him to the ground. He swung his sword and froze the magician who was supposed to be out of reach. You damn people, grit your teeth, it's time to pay the price for making someone unhappy. How many times had they repeated this exchange? Although the numbers had visibly decreased, the work situation had progressed quite well. I can't back down now. If they fail here, they may be forced to go on stage again. That's why you clench your fists. I'm like this pest control at Tobusque, so there's no way I'm going to lose. Julius continues to unleash the fierce power of ice, breathing out white breath. And then finally, a few minutes, no, maybe about 10 minutes had passed. There is beautiful ice in places all around, and a large number of ice objects are rolling around on the ground. Perhaps because he had been using magic continuously, all of Julius' breath was white, and even now that silence had spread all around, the air coming out of his mouth still did not become transparent. Really, you should at least write down the details of the mission properly. Crunch! Ulysses walks across the ice. And then, like this cute girl's heroine, I hadn't heard that there was one, the direction Julius walked. There, a girl with hair that suited the silvery landscape was lying unconscious. In an academy attended only by aristocrats, there is one commoner who was admitted as a special scholarship student. Her name is Luna, and she is the only daughter of a large trading company that is now famous across the continent and one of the heroines of this work. In the scenario, because he is a commoner, he catches the eye of Julius and is relentlessly bullied. It would be one thing if it was just the insults he used, but at times he would do things that were almost obscene, and even ruin the business she was running in revenge for not being able to win her attention, and he was in a completely worn-out state when he met the protagonist. Well, if you do such dirty things, of course you're going to get retaliation. Currently, she was one of the girls Julius had to be careful of. That girl was scheduled to return to the royal capital on this very day, today from a local facility she had visited for her first project. On the way, he was attacked by bandits and kidnapped. Of course, they were not completely vigilant. They had heard of thieves targeting merchants and had hired several adventurers to deal with them. However, the problem was that their numbers were far too great and that the attack was sudden and complete. It is unclear where the information was leaked. However, from start to finish, their only goal was to kidnap me, and I was taken away in the middle of the massacre. It was scary. Of course I'm scared. Even if they're after ransom, I don't know when they'll attack me. These are people who don't mind attacking. I was thrown into a group of bandits all by myself. I kept talking about myself. I tried to remain calm, but after a moment I suddenly lost consciousness. But then I thought I heard a voice. I'm like this past control had told this guy, so there's no way I'm going to lose. So I couldn't help but wish for it. Help. As my consciousness gradually began to awaken, those words slipped out of my mouth without my permission. What? Are there still enemies? Luna couldn't help but look up at the reply she hadn't expected. That was the trigger that made me clear my thoughts. I felt a vague, slightly cold sensation centered around my chest, and my vision was moving slowly even though I wasn't walking. It didn't take long for me to realize that I was being carried. That's why I can't help but ask right away. Euseblanche, hearing that name, Winna's heart instantly tightened. Well, I think it's true that if you look at the objective picture, including the visuals and the rumors, it's not surprising that they would ask for help, Blanche. It was an embarrassment for a well-known aristocrat in high society. I heard that he often does business with nobles. Commoner Luna, this has also reached the ears of many. It would be impossible not to be surprised or wary, so Luna instinctively found herself on guard. But why? More than anything, a sense of relief welled up in my chest. I think the reason I thought so was probably because it was the same voice that I thought I had heard. Could it be that he helped me? It would be good if you could clearly recognize that. If you are labeled as a kidnapper, you'll have to put more effort into explaining yourself than anyone else. The clothes that Ulysses is wearing. This was something worn by the knights often seen in the royal capital. I knew he had helped me, but I didn't understand why he was wearing this outfit. Because she thought he would be attending the same school she was about to start. I was worried that people would criticize him because he was a commoner. But how do you get that many people? There must have been a lot of wild, strong-looking men there. If he helped, it must have been because he defeated that many people. However, right now, Julius was the only one here. Was Julius really that strong? A question arises in Luna's mind. However, without paying any attention to the girl's condition, Julius called out to her. For now, let's quickly meet up with the others. I'm good at playing with building blocks. Partner mate, I think it's over now because of you. But just to be safe, prepare to charge onto the battlefield one more time, okay? Well, I'll definitely protect you. Julius muttered casually. This was so strange that Luna couldn't help but speak. Why did you help me? Anyone who had heard the bad reputation of the man named Ulysses would have thought the same thing. In the first place, it's strange that he became a knight, a profession meant to protect others. However, to put it bluntly, such a question is extremely rude. Asking someone who has helped you because I don't believe you can be taken as disrespectful. Therefore, after saying it, Luna said damn and covered her mouth. However, Julius spoke without seeming to mind too much. It was just a mission. If you were given homework and asked, why are you doing this? The answer would be obvious. Well, I didn't expect there to be such a cute girl in the world. Yeah, I didn't think there would be. It was during the fight that I first noticed, hey, there's a girl there. However, even if he had known from the beginning, Julius probably would have still clenched his fists. If the heroine dies, it will affect the scenario. So, if I can help, I will. And also, if someone is about to get into danger right in front of you, you should help them, even if it's for your own selfish reasons or whatever. For now, I'm sure you have a lot of things you want to say and questions, but I hope you accept it. Thought. Luna's chest jumped up as she was being carried. Even though my question had just been answered, my face somehow grew warm. Different, it's not a rumor. To be called trash, disgusting, and a disgrace is outrageous. If I had to sum up my impression of him in one word, hero. Even though he caused an omission, his kindness and desire to lend a helping hand are apparent. Although he said it was work, it also sounded like an excuse to help. Luna felt embarrassed and instinctively buried her face in Julia's back. This person is not what the rumors say. Luna hasn't met Eurus yet. As a member of the company, I had only heard rumors that were spreading among high society. It was only after I entered the academy that I finally met Julius. So, I don't know much about Ulysses. Even though I didn't know much about him, I had made assumptions about who Eurus was based on what I had heard. I felt embarrassed about that. For some reason, Ulysses' back, which should have been cold, felt warm. Unable to contain her heartbeat, Luna muttered the words. Thank you, don't worry about it. After that, Julius and the others didn't exchange a word until they emerged from the underground. The only sound that echoed through the silence was the sobbing of the girl, savoring the relief of being free from fear and her own embarrassment. Graham is one who doesn't let personal feelings get in the way. Family is important, but if they're in the same position as you and have the same responsibilities as you, then as a leader you should treat them the same as anyone else. This time, the reason Lizelot was able to join the Royal Capital's Knights was solely due to her own abilities. And the reason he, the commander of the Knights, chose to be present at the new recruits' exams was not out of concern for his daughter or out of fatherly concern, but simply out of a little bit of curiosity. So, what do you think, mister? Blanche's son, an earring-shaped magical item attached to the ear. From there, the voice of a girl with a certain elegance can be heard. Nothing, apparently. Just what you'd expect. I thought I'd have to intervene later, but it did not seem necessary. Fafu, that's wonderful. It was worth the effort to take charge of the Royal Capital's Knights. What have you done? Uncharacteristically, he glances up a little. That was a really cute stretch. If this is allowed to happen, it shows just how much the girl on the phone is loved by her family. Originally, this mission was meant to be handled by 3 Kingdom Knights. Graham exhaled softly and spoke while leaning against the carriage that was prepared for him later. 5 knights from major cities, 15 from the provinces. It's that difficult, but it seems they just completed the mission without incident. I can understand that very well. You were probably just relaxing in your seat and gazing at the blue sky, right? The truth is, I was planning to cancel the exam and intervene. To think that there was a victim in sight, Graham frowned. However, it is impressive that a rookie knight was able to complete a mission of that level unscathed. Julius Blanche, who has recently become Lady Fear's favorite, appears to have been the most outstanding. Fafu, that's wonderful! I would definitely like to have that in the royal family. I would like to refrain from commenting on that matter. After all, there are likely many rivals, including my daughter. Oh my, that's a problem. Well, it's not unusual for a prince to have several princesses as his attendants these days, so let's start by making sure you're well liked. With that said, communication was cut off. Is it just a girl's instinct to want to find out more about a man when she starts to become interested in him? However, it was a bit disappointing to see that there was a lot of self-calculation involved. As I gave a wry smile at the person on the other end of the line, I saw 4 children coming from the ruins of the temple. Does Master peek inside the box beforehand? Why is it that whenever I draw the lottery, a girl always wins? Who cares? I want to hear it. Sometimes I want to see a princess dressed up as a woman, whether that be a macho guy or a handsome guy or whatever. Sorry. I'm a girl, there are better ways to say it. Denying someone's gender is just too cruel. No, really, no. I prefer someone with softer pectoral muscles to carry me on my back, but that's not the case. I have a lot of circumstances on my side and punch. So in the end, it's what's important about your lower body? Wait, seriously, wait. What kind of talk are you? A lady who is supposed to have discretion. However, it seems like the children are in a complete mess. Graham had a wry smile on his face for another reason. However, he couldn't help but greet them, so he grinned and headed towards the children. It looks like you managed to wipe out the bandits. Well done. I didn't expect there to be any casualties. As Graham approached with an apologetic look on his face, Julius, who had been at the center of the carnage, gave him a dirty look. Yeah, from now on, I will request detailed information about the mission. I had no idea that such a hellish scene would be waiting for me after such hard work. I don't know that either. You're absolutely right. Though something unexpected happened, you have now officially become knights. But first, let's get the victim safely to the royal capital. The victim was likely Luna, who was being carried by Julius. When Julius glanced back, Luna somehow looked away. Thank you so much for coming this far. Yeah, that's fine, but... Why did you look away? I don't want you to see my face. What did you say? Julius crouched down and took a position that made it easier for Luna to get off. And after Luna got off, she dropped to her knees and began to cry. As expected, even if I do a good deed, it is still obvious how much Juris hates me. I know that I don't even want to see his face, but it's just too sad. Meanwhile, the other two girls were watching Julius like that. This is just because you absolutely don't want people to see your face after crying, right? Yellis, you seem to be quite ignorant of a girl's feelings. He gave me a cold, icy gaze. Well, this was also a kind of girlish sentiment, but naturally Julius didn't notice. Luna then got off, wiped her eyes, and bent down to meet the gaze of the kneeling Julius. Then he took out a brooch from his pocket and placed it in Julius' hand. Here, I'll give it to you. What is this? It's a sign that you won't be treated as a customer at our firm. Did I do something that bad in this episode? No. That's not it! It's not a declaration of estrangement or a complaint or anything like that. Luna hurriedly denied it, sounding somewhat embarrassed as she spoke. Well, merchants are in the business of cherishing gratitude, so once you've received a favor, you never forget it for the rest of your life. This is proof of that. Of course, it's not just gratitude. That's why. And then, in the end, in his ear, Lord Julius is the most special person to me, he muttered softly. With a feverish gaze and red cheeks, the beautiful face of the beautiful girl approached. Although Julius was startled by this, Luna was too embarrassed to bear and ran off into the carriage. But did I forget to mention something? He popped his head out of the carriage window and turned to Julius. I'll come and see you again, Lord Julius. She was cute as her age and yet had an enchanting smile. Oh, master's flirt. I can't say anything about other people, but this is what happens to girls who are saved by him. Hey, wait, why are you looking at me like that? It's so cold it hurts, you know, right? I'll take the victim back to the royal capital. You guys head to the knight's order now. Hey, are you walking again? At least give me a ride if we're going to the same place. Show your subordinates some appreciation after their work. The royal capital's knights are generally very busy. His missions often require him to travel from place to place, and he rarely returns to his base in the royal capital. Because of this, they rarely get to train together in harmony, or eat meals together in a harmonious atmosphere. The leader has returned. You're back? My first mission was to help someone, and after walking a long distance with all my might. When I returned to the knight's base, which I had visited once before, I was suddenly told this. That guy, he went home even though there was still work left to do. He especially threw away all the words of thanks and complaints from his subordinates. Are we just recyclable wet towels? Now, calm down. Rather than returning home, he just headed off to another mission. Besides, the commander made time out of his busy schedule to be in charge of you guys, the woman said as she stood in front of me. With her long light blue hair and long sword, she gives off a particularly mature impression. When I returned to the knights, he was the first to greet me. I'm Celia Alsta. From now on, I'll be your direct superior and my first instructor. Well, I look forward to working with you, not the heroine. I've never seen a character like this. Perhaps that was why tears began to well up in Julia's eyes. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you. Did he have any difficulties during this exam? Don't worry about it, master. Your tear ducts are as loose as a housewife's wallet. Recently, when it comes to women, they've been seen as heroines. I was happy that nothing like that had happened for the first time in a long time, but it seemed that the three of them didn't get it. Curious, Celia tilted her head but turned her back to him and started walking away. Well, I'm sure you're all tired. Let's start by explaining things to you as we walk to the accommodation. Celia led the way, with Julius and the others following behind. Basically, the knights live in dormitories so that they can rush to the scene at any time. However, if there is a special reason, such as having a household, they can live outside the dormitories. What special reason? Most of the people here are nobles. There are many occasions when they have to fulfill their duties. For example, the leader of the group is the head of an royal family. Since he still has responsibilities, he is allowed to leave the lodgings. That being said, most of them don't stay behind for missions. Celia gives a wry smile, which means that if I give birth to Master's child, the two of us will be able to escape from this strange birdcage. Teacher, there's a beautiful girl beside me muttering some pretty scary things. By the way, there are several knights who have married within this order. Really? Wait, why did you back me up? I guess a girl's best friend is a girl after all. Julius was surprised by Celia, who had suddenly increased the possibility of something dangerous happening. I will give you further instructions later, but unless you are personally summoned by the leader or vice leader, you will be conducting most of your training on your own. Is that so? From what I've heard, everyone always trains at the same time. Fafu, the commander's daughter, has done a lot of research. As Lizelot said, in other knight orders, everyone trains together to improve their leadership skills, but the knights of the royal capital are so busy that it's difficult for them to gather together in the first place. Therefore, that system is not possible. The royal capital is a gathering place for the elite. Since the knights who gather here are those with the most recognized abilities, it is easy to focus on the tasks they are given. It's difficult to train together when we can't be together every day. You will be given your mission soon. I think that at first you three will often be working together. And I'll be there to watch over you. I ended up working for a black company. Julius had a faraway look in his eyes as he listened to Celia's story. And then hey, that guy. Ah, this is Jules Blanche the leader was talking about. How could someone like that be in the prestigious Royal Knights? What on earth was the commander thinking? As I was walking, I heard a voice coming from somewhere. Glancing over, he saw several of the knights looking at Julius with sharp, disgusting looks. Favo, you're a celebrity after all. If those gazes had been enthusiastic yellow gazes, I would have been pleased too. What sticks out is not the passionate gazes from fans, but the reaction that comes with that press. It's not life-threatening, so it's okay, but it's frustrating that the reaction is the same no matter where I go. On the other hand, Master, may I go and deal with him? No, you can't. I'll give you some food later, so behave yourself, House. The royal capital's knights have really fallen so far as to not notice Yura's charms. Wait, don't make such a big statement. What will you do if someone asks you? You're the class president, aren't you? It seems the two girls could not forgive their beloved one for being made fun of. He said something that would get him in trouble if anyone asked him. Oh, now that I think of it, Celia, is it okay if you go over to the other side? You probably know about me, don't you? I've heard a lot about you. I'm still a member of the nobility after all. But I'm the type of person who only believes what I see for myself. So it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to join the other side. Saying that, Celia smiled gently. His first impression of a complete stranger. Since he had had negative impressions up until then, something welled up in Julia's heart. That's why I was so happy. Now that I think about it, we have some spare rooms and it's possible to have separate rooms for men and women. But what do you think? It's a triple room. Is that necessary? It's fine if we're together. Separate the men and women. Why don't you bring up common sense and morals here? I forgot to tell you. I like to play pranks a little change. For a moment I thought, I'm glad this person is my boss, but change. I don't care if he stares coldly, but I want someone who at least has ethics and common sense. However, once a decision is made, it is difficult to overturn. Jules' argument was ignored, and Celia walked ahead of him, a happy look on her face as they headed to the dormitory. Ulysses is an aristocrat. Before his reincarnation, he lived in an ordinary family, but after his reincarnation, he found himself in luxurious surroundings. As a result, his body and mind have become completely accustomed to the luxuries of an aristocrat. Therefore, when I heard that I would be living in a dormitory with the knights, I prepared myself and thought, yes, I'll do my best in the pigsty. However, hero, it's too much. Now, after Celia showed me around various places, having packed their belongings and been told to rest for the day, Julius and the others immediately headed to the rooms assigned to them. The room was like a luxury hotel suite. In addition to a large living room, each room has its own individual room to ensure privacy and even a fully equipped kitchen. It's hard to believe that this is a room given to a corporate slave who is paid by the government. Although he had been prepared for this, Julius was surprised to find that his fears had turned out to be unfounded, and tears of gratitude welled up in his eyes. Well, as expected from the best night order in the country. Certainly, this is a place that anyone would want to aim for. Lizelot didn't seem particularly surprised as she sat down on the sofa and looked around. The reason he was not surprised was probably because he was more accustomed to life as an aristocrat than Julius. The way he sat blended in perfectly with the room. On the other hand, master, I've finished unpacking my things. I guess I'm not surprising enough either. It seems that a capable maid is a capable maid no matter where she goes. Even though she was now on an equal footing with him by becoming a knight, Iris continued to do her job as a maid. By the way, we have an extra room, so let's use it as a storehouse, huh? Is it possible that there are extra rooms? 3 men and women entered the triple room regardless of their wishes. There are rooms for each person, so it's hard to imagine there being any left over. As I was pondering this, Iris opened one of the rooms and showed me inside. There, Julius' few personal belongings and some cute stuffed toys were placed in an organized order. I'm sharing the same room as my master. Hey. What are you talking about? So, no matter how much you remind me, it won't change anything. Just clean it up right away. Sharing a bed with 2 beautiful girls in a private room would definitely be bad. Julius smiled and shook his head. What a cold master. Puffing out her cheeks, Iris puts away the personal belongings, including the stuffed animal that she had taken out of her closet. Do you really want to be with me that badly? I asked, and a wry smile appeared on my face as I watched her back. But what should I do now? There is fatigue from work. However, humans tend to get confused when they are suddenly told, you can go home today. If you have no plans, you may feel a little confused in your new environment. Julius sat down on a vacant sofa and lay down on his side. And then, are you free? Lizelot peered into Julius' face. I'm just bored. Then why don't you talk to me? We need to get along as classmates from now on. To be honest, I don't want to have anything to do with the heroine. However, it's clear that it's inevitable now, and like Iris, it would be wise to try to get along with her from now on to avoid getting stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? By the way, I can't talk about tea in the way that modern aristocratic ladies can enjoy. Fuffle, that's fine. I find it easier to talk about swords than that. Lizelot smiled with a slightly more mature look. Then he slowly lifted Julia's head and placed it on his lap. Well, for example, your favorite foods, but hey wait, what's this position? You communicate to become closer, right? If there was a lap pillow during the process of getting to know each other, there would be some horrible scenes between guys that wouldn't be allowed on air these days. Julius tries to stand up. However, Lizelot held Julius' head and looked down at him with a smile. I was just kidding. But you were the best performer today, so I wanted to show you my appreciation. That girl stole my chance, you know. This time, it was Julius who defeated the most enemies and even saved an unexpected victim. On the other hand, Lizelot simply supported Iris. Their military achievements and labor force are different from mine. If we are to work together on an equal footing from now on, I want to close that gap. Perhaps sensing that intention in the smile directed at him, Julius became embarrassed and shy and obediently turned his face away from Lizelot. There's no need to synchronize these things. Well, I don't do that to just anyone either, you know. There are countless reasons why I do it to you, but for now, can you say something? I'm very happy. Yeah, that's good to be honest. Although she had said she wanted to talk, Lizelot never opened her mouth. Instead, he gently stroked Julia's head and hummed in a good mood. A soft touch, warm palm, pleasant air, a stimulating sweet scent, a handsome face nearby. It made Julia's heart beat faster and his face involuntarily grew warm. Damn. This is why the heroine is too strong. There's no way you wouldn't be happy if a girl rested her head on your lap. However, the other person is the heroine, a girl who definitely would end like a villain. A complex mix of emotions and facts mixed together in a sense of euphoria filled Jola's mind. Like Iris, there are so many heroines who always do things that make you misunderstand. In the end, Lizelot's lap pillow continued until Iris had finished packing up her luggage. Iris had something to look forward to every morning. As a servant, you wake up earlier than anyone else, get ready, and check your schedule for the day, and then a reward awaits you. When her feelings for Julius had begun to grow and she had once again begun to realize that she was going to join the Knights, she had feared that the reward might disappear, but she remembered feeling relieved a while ago when she had passed the exam and been assigned to the same place, knowing that things would remain the same from now on. After all, I can only get this reward if Julius is with me. And by joining the Knights together with Julius, Iris was able to receive the same rewards as she had when she was at the mansion Fufu, Master's sleeping face. It's super cute. The morning of the first day that the maid begins working as a knight in the truest sense of the word. Although it wasn't her usual maid uniform, Iris had finished changing into the clothes that had been provided to her, and was smiling happily as she stood next to her sleeping master. It is a maid's duty to wake up her master, but it's more like a blissful reward than a duty. Right before his eyes was the defenseless figure of an adorable young boy. He had a cute sleeping face that suited his age, and Iris wanted to look at him forever. This time is my own privilege. Even though he has gained the position of knight, it is only because he wants to be with Julius. I will always be Julius' personal maid. His daily pleasure is arriving earlier than he would normally wake his master up and gazing at his beloved's face. It is something that cannot be compromised even if circumstances change. Looking at him like this, you wouldn't think he was such a monster-like boy. Of course, the master in question was very cool, but I love the contrast with his face like this. Iris flashes a girlish smile and pokes Julius' cheek, just enough not to wake him up. Fafu, she's a maid that any master would love. I'm glad to be liked by such a cute girl. Your master is truly a lucky man. Certainly, apart from his slightly cheeky nature, he is objectively a lucky man. He likes me no matter what I look like. He'll be by my side, and he'll do anything for me. Furthermore, she has a beautiful appearance that we know will undoubtedly become even more beautiful as she grows up. Having a girl like that by your side is sure to make all the men in the world jealous. Fafa, do you understand, you hero-san? Kea, as Iris was playing with her cheek, she suddenly felt a pull on her arm. As she fell onto the bed, Julius began to embrace her delicate body. But Iris, isn't he surprised? Julius' sleeping habits have been bad for the past 3 years, and he sometimes has a tendency to hug anything nearby. That's why he deliberately gets closer to her, but Iris shows no signs of disliking her or wanting to leave. I simply buried my face in Yora's chest, feeling his warmth. Master, are you a lonely person? You usually don't say it out loud, but it seems to come out in a place like this. Subconsciously, you're looking for someone. Maybe that's what's showing up in the way I sleep. That's what I can't help but think. So cute in it. That someone they're looking for is themselves. I know that commoners and nobles can't be together, but I don't want to be separated from them in the future. Iris raised her gaze and saw the face of Julius, who was sleeping comfortably. So, I don't care what rank I am. I just want to appeal to my master and get him in my arms, but just for now. I want to fully enjoy this morning treat. I lowered my gaze and buried my face in Julius' chest, once again enjoying the comfortable coolness of his body and the sense of security. And then finally, Julius' eyes slowly opened. However, perhaps because he was half asleep, he lowered his gaze to Iris in his chest and for some reason began to slowly stroke her head. Again, Iris, yeah, see you again, you really are a lonely guy. Saying this, Julius' eyes closed once again. It's still too early to wake him up. For now, Celia told me yesterday that there won't be any problems as long as we can gather by the designated meal time. At 40 minutes left until breakfast time. Considering the preparations to be made, it would be okay to take it easy for about 10 minutes. Master has been very tired lately. I have worked hard up until this day in order to join the knights. Despite the cold criticism he received from those around him, he managed to achieve his goal. Yesterday, too, I completed my duties properly and helped people. Well, as a young girl, I was a little unhappy that she was the one who would likely become my rival again, but that was probably just jealousy due to Julia's kindness. Iris loves and is attracted to that part of him, and although she complains a little, she doesn't say anything more than that. I want to at least let him sleep so he can get some rest. Just 10 more minutes. I'll wake you up once we've both had our time, Master. Iris has gentle eyes. She gently rested herself in his chest, thinking of her master. You're so bold as to be affectionate with other people so early in the morning. Even rabbits can at least maintain some tact these days, even if they're not physically touching someone. Even the fox lady rested her head on my lap yesterday when I wasn't looking. If no one is around, she'll get skinned right away, you bitch. Huh? Huh? Now, it was the morning of the second day of life as a knight. I woke up to find sparks flying in the dining room, which was fairly empty despite its size. If this were happening outside of my control, I could just sip some tea and say, you're in high spirits in the morning, but because I'm a party to it, it brings me to tears. Fafu, you guys are so lively and fun from the morning. The mentality of being able to say that a carnage is fun, as expected, well, you're out of the loop. That's true. Meanwhile, right next to the pandemonium is the villain, Ulysses, looking dejected. Perhaps he is troubled by the fact that this extremely cute girl seems to be on an extremely bad terms with him. Or perhaps it is because the lap pillow and hot pillow are related to him. Celia, who loves to play pranks, watched all of this with a smile. So what goes through the mind of a playboy at the center of a carnage? Is he so arrogant that he can't help but look down on the lonely men around him? If I could enjoy looking down from the clock tower, I wouldn't look like this. Oh, what a luxury problem to have. You shouldn't say that out loud, okay? Why? Julius asked, tilting his head in disappointment. Then Celia pointed to the edge of the dining hall. Damn. That new guy, even though there's a cutie next to him, is making that face. Even though two beautiful girls have joined us, should I crush it, roast it, boil it, steam it, chop it up? Even if I don't include disposing of the organs, I'm still at a loss as to how to dispose of it. If we say it was an accident during training, we can deal with it however we want. We can even beat them up. That's it, no! What's wrong is that you can't speak up. Is it correct to say that those passionate looks and approaches are the result of my bad reputation? No matter how many heroic tales you tell from now on, I think that gaze will never fade. A man's jealousy is a terrifying thing. Even though they're just being together, the flag of ruin within the family is already being raised. Faced with the cruel reality, Julius covered his hands and began to cry. Well, it's not surprising. Basically, the ratio of men to women in any night order is skewed. So for this eye candy to come in and be sold out, to the guys busily working in a squalid place, it feels like an oasis in the desert has disappeared right before their eyes. I don't feel like I have monopolized the desert water at all. Plus, I'm in the pretty girl category too. If one of the few oases is getting along with the kohai, I'll be met with plenty of jealous looks. Haha, sorry, I'm a popular girl certainly. Celia has good looks. It really can't be compared to Lizalot or Iris. In addition, she has a mature air about her and a mischievous yet approachable personality. Such a girl was playing around with her new junior, poking him in the cheek with a mischievous smile. This is sure to be a bargain sale that will inspire envy and jealousy. No matter what you buy, you will be treated to brutal hospitality in the name of harmonious friendship. Oh, change. At least change, senpai. Or someone please win this person's heart. It's true that I'm looking for a boyfriend. But if you say so, I don't mind if you win her over, you know. No! I can't see a way for this night order to get along together anymore. That rare clicking of the tongue made it hard for Julius to imagine a bright future. Oh, by the way, I was having so much fun I forgot to mention it, he said. As Julius began to cry, Celia suddenly spoke as if she had just remembered something. Starting today, you will all be assigned a mission. The task is to guard the third princess. However, while I was about to say something, suddenly a figure appeared next to the table where the four of them were sitting. Hey, Yulsa Blanche, a tall man with a slim yet muscular build. Who is that? Not only Celia, but Iris and Lizolat, who were also in the middle of the carnage, turned their heads to look at her. Julius also turns his face to the side in the same way. Then, with his sharp yet cold eyes, the man spoke to Julius. What wrongdoing have you committed to bring you here? Suddenly, he made a rude remark that he had no recollection of making. But more than that, I couldn't help but wonder, who is it? Who are you? Thorfrans. He's from the same year as me. After answering Julia's question, Celia sighed and then, and you suddenly showed up and said that? A senior who bullies new recruits is the first person to be disliked. I'm not bullying any of the new recruits. I'm just saying it's strange that that disgrace to the nobility is in this order. As always, he's a really nasty guy. In short, he probably doesn't like Ulysses' presence. The royal capital's knights are a place where the elite of all the knight orders from around the country gather. I am proud to be there, and it is recognized by those around me as an honorable place. With someone with a bad reputation in high society being in such a place, it's no wonder some people would dislike it. It wasn't a cold stare or anything, it was just that someone had spoken confidently. Eurus once again becomes fed up, thinking, there's a stalker even in my escape from reality. You passed the exam properly. There can't be any cheating involved. Besides, the commander himself conducted the exam to check your abilities, so why are you dissatisfied? I only trust what I see. I'm sure you do too. It doesn't seem like you disbelieve it, you just don't like it. Well, whether that's true or not doesn't really matter right now. We'll find out once we've sparred. Celia's eyebrows twitched. Apparently, this man doesn't suspect any wrongdoing. He just wants to bully people he doesn't like under the guise of a match. Realizing this, Celia replied in an even lower voice. Well, seriously? I'm serious, of course. Besides, I'm sure you're curious about his abilities as well. Perhaps it was the same thought that Celia had, as she was momentarily at a loss for words. The conversation just keeps moving forward. Is this the hierarchical society that workers inevitably face? Wanting him to say more, Julius looked off into the distance, feeling the tense atmosphere. If things go on like this, they'll probably start fighting, or maybe if I lose on purpose, it'll calm down. I was already in a mood of giving up. At that moment, hey, if you just shut up and listen, they'll say whatever they want with the thought. Iris, who was sitting next to me, stood up with veins popping out of her forehead. What is it? You've been bad-mouthing your master for a while now, but isn't it a bit rude to suddenly say that because he's your senior? Thor looked at Iris, who was glaring at him. Then, the next moment, you're a noisy junior. Thor's fist appeared at Iris' face. Was it because I was caught off guard? Or was it because he thought they wouldn't actually lay hands on him? Iris involuntarily stiffened at the sudden approaching fist. However, that's not the case. Oh. Just before the fist was about to touch Iris' face, Ulysses' hand grabbed Thor's fist. What's this hand? Thor frowned at being grabbed. However, Ulysses ignored Thor's suspicious look and spoke. I'll do it, yeah? I said I'd give you a hand, damn it, fool. Let's do it. Besides, if I was told to do it, I was going to do it. I don't want to fight, but I've just joined the Knights, so I can't just ignore what my senior has to say. After all, if you resist in a strange way and end up being kicked out, all your efforts up to now will be wasted. But I don't care about that anymore. Raising a hand to someone is something that cannot be overlooked. This is especially true if it's a girl he cares about. Don't you dare bring Iris into my conversation, damn it. I'll punish you for everything you've done now with the punch to the body. Jules declared to Thor, veins showing on his forehead.